Figures of speech, the words used in an extraordinary sense which attracts attention, is called figures of speech. Based on analogy, agreement, or similarity, figures of speech can be simile and metaphor. A simile is a comparison which exists between two things different in kind, and we often use like, as, so, such while using simile. For example, like a child from the womb, like a ghost from the tomb. I wandered lonely as a cloud. So you could see that there is similarity existing between two things which is different in kind, whereas metaphor is also based on comparison but is not clearly expressed and without the use of like, as, so, or such. For example, the curfew tolls the knell of parting day, or the famous line from Ulysses, I will drink life to the lees. Words based on difference or contrast. Antithesis, it is a figure in which one idea is set against another in a balanced form for emphasis. United we stand, divided we fall. So you could see that stand and fall are in the same sentence. That is antithesis. Epigram. Epigram is again an apparent contradiction in language which is causing a temporary shock and draws our attention to some deeper meaning. Epigram again is a sentence which has a deep meaning. For example, when cowards die many times before their deaths. These are all epigrammatic sentences which carries a deeper meaning. Next we have oxymoron. Oxymoron are words placed side by side to enhance their meaning. Like lawless laws, ideally busy, opposite words placed side by side is what oxymoron is. Next is climax. Climax is a word's ideas or sentiments that stated in such a manner that the meaning rises from a less important to an impressive stage to a more important or impressive one. For example, when you say to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. So the most important part of the sentence is to yield, which is the last part of the sentence. So the sentence is getting stronger with the length. Another example, for suppose I came, I saw, I conquered. So the most important one, I conquered, is at the last of the sentence. Again, we dream alone, we suffer alone, we die alone. So the most important part, die, is in the last part of the sentence, which is climax. Next is anticlimax or bathos. It is exactly the opposite of climax, where the most important part of the sentence is in the first part of the sentence, and with the length of the sentence, the importance of the sentence decreases. For example, when husbands die or lapdog breathe their last. Important, as you could see that when husbands die, but again the action falls, as in the next part the poet is saying or lapdogs breathe their last. So husbands are compared to lapdogs, which is nothing but anticlimax, as the importance or the significance of the sentence is decreasing. Next we have figures based on association, that is metonymy, synecdoche, hyperlage or transferred epithet, and allusion. So metonymy has several parts as well. For example, we often use metonymy for substituting the maker for his work. For example, we say we read Rabindranath, which is signifying that we read the works of Rabindranath. Secondly, we use metonymy for the instrument or organ for the agent. For example, grey hairs simplify aged person, or when we say altar, sword and pen, it symbolizes priests, soldiers and writers. The next part is the container for the thing contained. For example, when we say the whole village turned up to see this sight. So the whole village here symbolizes the villagers rather than the whole village. Next we have act for its object. For example, the people's prayer, the glad's divine theme, the younger man's vision, the old man's dream. Okay, it is a figure of speech which is a more comprehensive term is used instead of less comprehensive one or vice versa. For example, he is a poor creature. Here creature is symbolifying man. Or we can say the falling year, the smiling year. So the smiling year is basically spring and the falling year autumn. Or we can also say some mute inglorious Milton here may rest, some Cromwell guiltless of his country's blood. So Milton is actually here the part representing great poets and Cromwell the revolutionaries. Allusion which refers to some well-known past incident or a mythical or historical name. While writing a poem, when a poet uses the past references of something significant, we used allusion. Next we have figures based on imagination. This figure personification consists in attributing human-like qualities or powers to inanimate objects or abstract ideas. For example, the thirsty earth soaks up the rain. So the poet is saying that the earth is thirsty, which is a human-like quality. Next we have apostrophe. It is a figure of speech where a writer or speaker turns away from the main subject and makes a sudden, short and impassioned address to a person absent or dead or to an inanimate object. For example, O solitude, where are the charms that sages have seen in thy face? See, O solitude, the poet is addressing solitude. So it is an example of apostrophe and often marked with an exclamation mark. Next we have hyperbole or exaggeration. It consists of expressing a thing as much greater than in reality it is. So it is like an extravagant description of something which is not found in reality. For example, I loved a love once, fairest among women. It is sort of hyperbolic, like the fairest among women. Or I have crossed the 1,000 seas. It is not possible practically. So it is an example of hyperbole. Next we have figures based on indirectness or innuendo. This figure consists in hinting at something unpleasant or damaging instead of stating it plainly. Generally, it points at something damaging to the character or reputation of the person referred to. Insinuation, the effect of which is more damaging than the plain statement of a damaging fact. An example, my friends were poor but honest. The hint is that poor people are generally dishonest. Next we have irony, which is the use of words which is the exactly opposite of what is intended to be expressed. For example, Brutus says he was ambitious and Brutus is an honorable man, suggesting that Brutus is not honorable at all. Next we have sarcasm, which is a direct attack exposing the follies and weakness of the person attacked. It is basically used to contempt or ridicule a person. For example, certainly God did not make man and leave it to Aristotle to make him rational. Next we have periphrasis or circumlocution. It is the roundabout or indirect way of saying something. For example, sleep that knows no waking, which is nothing but death. The shining leather that encases the limb, boot. Shroud of sentient clay, body. So this is the indirect way of describing something, Next we have euphemism. This figure consists in describing some disagreeable thing in a much softer and agreeable manner. For example, when we say died, that he has died, we can say he breathed his last, which is much softer than the sentence that he died. Or when we say that he was hanged, we can say he died on the scaffold, which is much softer than he was hanged. are negative sentences that indicate a strong affirmative sentence. For example, he is a citizen of no main city. He is a citizen of no main city, which is basically means that he is a citizen of a very good city or a very distinguished city. Next, we have figures based on emotion, interrogation, where basically a form of question is asked. Then we have exclamation, which can we easily identify with the exclamation mark, as well as the figure based on sound, that is pun or paronomasia. This figure consists in the play upon words having similar sound but different meanings. It has 2 pages, that is the servants, but cannot read 2 pages of a book. Notice that there are 2 meanings of the same word, pages. Again, we can see that he is a scientist, but his knowledge on sound is not sound. So again, the same word sound has 2 different meanings. This is pun. Then we have alliteration, which consists of the repetition of the same letter, vowel or consonant at the beginning or about the middle or at the end of successive or nearly successive words. For example, how high his highness holds his haughty head. You can see the H, the letter H has been constantly repeated. How high his highness holds his haughty head. Then we have onomatopoeia, which is the sound or the sense of sound or the sounds made by animals. For example, we say hum, buzz, hiss, tumble, twittering, lapping, stuttering. Whenever we see words that make sounds, we use onomatopoeia. Then we have figures based on construction, that is hendiadys. Hendiadys is nothing but hendiadys literally means one by means of two. The figure consists in use of 2 nouns connected by the conjunction and but conveying one complex idea which might have been bettered. The gentle tell of love and languishment, which basically means that languishing love. Again, we can say with joy and sing, which is joyful song. So when we use 2 nouns to present a single idea, then we have chiasmus. Chiasmus is the inversion of the order of words or phrases when repeated by a sentence. For example, beauty is truth, truth beauty, and singing still thou soar, and soaring ever singest. We live to learn and learn to live. Then we have zeugma. This figure consists of one verb connecting 2 nouns for which the verb is used in slightly different senses. For example, the moment and vessel passed, the fast and noon grew high. Here one verb serves 2 nouns, feast and noon. Ellipsis is basically an omission for the sake of the elegance or emphasis. For example, ascendanton is basically the omission of conjunctions. For example, I sleep, I slide, I gleam, I dance. There is no use of conjunction in ascendanton. Whereas in polysyndeton there is excessive use of conjunctions. For example, I buy fish and meat and vegetables and chilies and oranges and sweets. See the repetition of and continuously. Then you have hyperbaton or inversion. This figure consists in inversion of the grammatical order of words in a sentence for the sake of emphasis. I silver and gold have I none. Much have I travelled in the realms of gold. A slumber did my spirit steal. Then you have tautology, which is the use of more than one word or phrase similar or almost similar for the sake of emphasis. I rejoiced at the happy sight. They arrived one after another in succession. So the same words have been used repetitively. Then we have anaphora, which is the repetition of the same word at the beginning of a sentence. For example, what I spent I had, what I kept I lost, what I gave I have. The repetition, see, the word what has been repeated consistently in the beginning of the sentences. Then we have epistrophe, which consists of the repetition of words or phrases at the end of a successive clauses or sentence for the sake of greater vigor and energy. The sages are wrong, the great thinkers are wrong, scientists are wrong, philosophers are wrong. See the repetition of the word wrong. So when we repeat at the beginning of a sentence, it is anaphora, and at the end of a sentence, it is epistrophe. So in case of rhetoric, you will be given a passage, and you have to find out at least 5 figures of speech from the passage, from the poem. So as you can see from 2023, we have solved the paper. Like this, you have to give 5 figures of speech by reading the passages. As you can see, 2023. That's it. I think you will find it useful. You can get the whole PDF from the link below. Thank you.